This podcast is a quest for well-being, a quest for a meaningful life through the exploration of fundamental truth. Enlightening ideas, insights on physical, mental, and spiritual health. The inspiration is love. The aspiration is to awaken new ways of thinking that can lead us to a new way of being well. Welcome to Body, Mind, and Soul Healing Conversations.
I want to pause and acknowledge the absolute heartbreak women experience when they go in for fertility evaluations and receive the news they will not be able to get pregnant. I have an immense amount of compassion for you. I want to encourage you that we serve a God who can make the impossible happen. He sees you in your suffering and pain and knows your heart's desires to be a mother. He wants to make that dream come true for you. Even though it may seem impossible or look different than you've imagined, he can deliver you in the way you need. Valeria interviews Devon Larson. She is the author of Fulfilled, a therapist's journey of faith through fertility. Devon Larson, LMFT, CGT, is a marriage and trauma therapist, follower of Jesus, and author. Devon's passion has always been working with wounded hearts, helping those in broken, in what seem like hopeless situations, find light and meaning for their lives. She owns a private practice called Moments of Grace Family Therapy and specializes in working with couples, adolescents, and adults who want to find freedom from trauma they've experienced. Devon holds a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of California, Berkeley, and a master's degree in marriage and family therapy from Liberty University. She is a certified Gottman therapist and a local Moms in the Making leader. Devon lives on a small farm in Central Oregon with her husband, 2 golden retrievers, barn cat, and chickens. She continues to wait on the Lord to build her family and believes that every woman can find fulfillment in their season of waiting. In her downtime, Devon enjoys watching the sunrise, sitting on her patio with a good book, traveling, or enjoying a sweet treat. Meet Devon at momentsofgraceft.com. Here's the interview with Devon Larson.
In your own words, who is Devon Larson?
In my own words, I am first and foremost a follower of Jesus. I am also a wife of 7 years, a licensed marriage and family therapist, certified Gottman therapist. I am a dog mom to 2 adorable golden retrievers. And as of recently, I am an author.
Yes. This is the reason why we are meeting today. I know it's beyond that, but that's the beginning. So you have written the book titled Fulfilled, a therapist's journey of faith through fertility. So we'll start there. That will be my follow-up question or my second question. What was the main intention when you wrote the book Fulfilled?
So it's interesting because when I had first started writing this book, I was under the impression that I would be writing it from a purely psychological lens and that I would be incorporating tools for women who are dealing with infertility and who are trying to cope with the grief. And about 5 months into my writing process, I realized that nothing was really coming out of it. And I was praying about it. And at church one morning, I had this encounter with God where he put this title of my book on my heart, Fulfilled, with the subtitle. And then he actually divinely inspired what my content was going to be. So I have this little map in my journal of what he spoke to me that Sunday morning.
Wow, that's beautiful, though. I I love the idea that we can be guided, that we can allow ourselves to be guided. And this is very much the case. It has been my journey throughout life, just being open to guidance, spiritual, divine guidance. And I guess the question that comes to mind is, how do we know, Devan, when we are being guided in a way that's beneficial for us, our family, and humanity as a whole?
That's a
what
great
are the
question.
signs?
Yeah, great question, Valeria. I think that, and that this ties into my journey, because so much of the time when you're in a season of waiting, so you're waiting on the door to open for your heart's desire, or in my case, you're waiting for a prayer to be answered, to be a mother, you are seeking guidance, you're seeking wisdom, you're longing for direction. And so much of the time we are looking to various different resources, professionals, friends, family members to try to help us. And I was looking at everything outside of God in the beginning of my journey. I was doing all the Google searches, trying to meet with all the doctors, and God graciously pulled me in toward him and really continued to encounter me and pursue me in my waiting, to eventually I got to this point where I had to decide that I was going to put his word above all of these other voices that were taking up space about what I should do in my fertility journey.
Right. So it is a message of surrender, isn't it? Yeah, not trying. Basically, Devon, it's not trying to control processes, control our own perceived lives and the lives of others. That's such a big one. And a big piece of it, those pieces of not controlling. But there's also, to me, what comes to me a lot is love. So coming from love and not from fear. I think fear leads to this intense pursuit to get somewhere or be someone different. There's all these components, of trying to change something that's already whole, that's already here. So I don't know if that's something that you resonate with. I know that we have a lot to talk about your own story too. There's so much here notes that I made. But how do you feel about this? Even surrender, is that a process, or it's a decision we make in the moment in time? Flows, and then we flow from it or with it.
Yeah. Surrender is such an interesting concept. And in my season of waiting, as I've been trying to grow my family and get pregnant, I have really learned what surrender is in a very personal way. Yeah. And to what you're saying, the fear that we experience actually is exacerbated when we're trying to control. Right. And when we're able to enter into a posture of surrender, that's when we feel that ultimate peace. And one of the things that I've learned is that surrender, it doesn't just happen once. It's an active daily process where every single day, when I'm trying to cling on to something, when I'm trying to cling on to my fertility, I'm letting it go and I'm giving it back to God.
I love that. What's not to love about it? Yes, that's a message and a reminder for all of us, in different aspects of life. So is this the work that you do as a founder of Moments of Grace Family Therapy? I love the name of your company too.
Thank you. This is a part of the work. I work with women who are dealing with infertility. I also lead a small group, a small support group for women in my community who are dealing with infertility, or what I call delayed fertility.
I like that.
I prefer the language delayed fertility because I do believe that we are all fertile. I just believe that our timing is different to become mothers.
Yes, I love that. That's one of the things that really caught my attention, delayed fertility, right? So before I ask you all these other questions, I want to mention that your book, Fulfilled, A Therapist's Journey of Faith Through Fertility, it's already available on Amazon, the Kindle version, but the paperback will be available on November 10th, 2024. So this month, right? October 30th. Oh, we're a few days away for November.
Yes. Yep.
So is that accurate, Devan, or did I miss something?
Yes, it's available through Kindle, and the paperback will be available on November 10th.
Okay, so I'll have that information there too here. If this episode, it actually will be published after that date, so that will be okay. So going back to questions about delayed fertility, what causes it?
So infertility is caused by a wide array of things. Women are actually diagnosed with infertility when they've been trying to conceive for a year and have not been able to get pregnant at all, or maybe they've had a miscarriage or two. About 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 6 women have infertility, and typically couples are diagnosed due to a variety of reasons. So this could be women are not ovulating, maybe they're not getting a regular menstrual cycle. Common diagnoses are endometriosis or PCOS, but it's not always the women's health that creates challenges with getting pregnant, because 50% of the time it's actually due to male factor infertility, where the men's sperm quality, count, or mobility is what is making it challenging to conceive.
Right. So it could be both. Yes, that was one of my questions too. So you also mentioned in your book, you said sometimes it can be nothing at all that is keeping you from getting pregnant. When a cause is not found, this is called unexplained infertility. So that happens too. And I think I remember reading that it's frustrating when the cause is not known. So
Yes, and that was a part of my initial diagnosis, was unexplained infertility. And the frustrating part about it is that you, from the doctor's eyes, yourself and your spouse are in completely good health, and they can't identify any reason as to why you can't get pregnant. You just can't get pregnant. And so you try to do all these things to try to increase your chances, but really it's like shooting in the dark, because you don't actually know what needs to be treated.
Right. And then from that, I know that that goes into your story, all the things that you have done. One of my questions was the alternative methods, and IVF is one of them, in vitro fertilization. So talk to me about these alternative methods. Do you recommend the ones that you have tried to other women, or you have selected the best ones per se?
So I will disclose that I'm not a medical doctor. And so when it comes to recommending different medical treatments or interventions is not something that I do. But what I can wholeheartedly say is that whatever decision a couple makes about their fertility, they need to feel complete peace about it, because our bodies respond when we're not feeling a sense of peace. And if we're feeling anxiety or stress, then that's going to cause more harm to the process versus making it beneficial to our bodies. And what I have tried with meeting with a naturopath in the beginning, and then I've done 5 rounds of Clomid, which is a fertility drug that helps with ovulation. At that point, I really didn't feel that God was calling us to do any further treatments, and that he was calling us in a different direction. So I think if, couples are seeking wisdom, and if they believe in God and they're seeking God's direction for them and they feel peace about it, then that's the direction that they should go, whatever they are feeling called to in that.
Yes, I love that. And I also love how you honor God, and almost every sentence you say, and throughout your book. I mean, it's just beautiful. Thank you. So, and I have to go to that then. There's a section in your book where you say, God healing my body through acupuncture. So I would love to hear your experience with acupuncture. How was it?
Yeah.
Although I
Yes.
have read already in the audience.
Yes, that was probably one of the craziest experiences I've had in my life, Valeria. I will be quite honest.
Yeah.
So I actually had a needle phobia, and I had always been afraid of acupuncture.
Wow.
And when it was recommended, I was apprehensive toward it. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to go and try this. And so I went to an initial acupuncture appointment and didn't really feel connected with that doctor. So I was able to find one that I did feel connected with. And from the initial appointment, I felt very safe with her. And that was something that my body needed in order to trust that I could move into this process.
Right.
And so when she initially started going in with the needles, she was taking some observations of my body. And when I came back for a follow-up appointment, she said, when I had inserted the needles into your womb area, I felt an immense amount of dark energy. And instantly I knew in my heart that this was, in my opinion, a spiritual battle, and that my trauma was continued to being held in my body. And so I needed something to help me release it. And I really felt like God was working through acupuncture to start that process of allowing me to feel my body differently in that.
Yes, wow. That is, that was the part of the message that you received that, I love those words, rest, heal, and restore. I read that too. And I have to say, I love your courage, not only of going through the process that you have been, but sharing everything and being open and helping other women throughout the process. It's truly, truly beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so going back to the story, your book. So you said something that I have here as the introduction of this episode. That's how profound it was to me. When you say, I wanted to pause and acknowledge the absolute heartbreak women experience when they go in for fertility evaluations and receive the news that they will not be able to get pregnant. So that section, do you have that in front of you, Devon? I would love for you to read that with your voice, if you have it.
Yes, I can pull it up.
That's a beautiful, beautiful prayer to me. It feels like a prayer.
Yes.
Oh, I can send it to you here too. Wait a minute. I can send it to chat. Yeah, I sent it to you if it's hard to find.
Okay, I just found it.
Okay.
I want to pause and acknowledge the absolute heartbreak women experience when they go in for fertility evaluations and receive the news they will not be able to get pregnant. I have an immense amount of compassion for you. I want to encourage you that we serve a God who can make the impossible happen. He sees you in your suffering and pain and knows your heart's desires to be a mother. He wants to make that dream come true for you. Even though it may seem impossible or look different than you've imagined, he can deliver you in the way you need.
Yes. Yeah. Gosh, it feels like a meditation, guided meditation, the prayer. One, maybe both. So I love that. And one of the things, I'm going through almost like emotions, how I felt when I read your story. And then it was really sad to hear the baby shower blues, the journal entry. That was really sad. It put me in almost in that very emotional kind of state, trying to feel or maybe trying to sense something that you felt. And I just made a note here, sad. And now when the memory came back, I became sad in the moment. So that's interesting to see. So thank you again for sharing all that, just sharing your heart, really.
Mm-hmm.
A question, just a little bit, not really, it sounds like a philosophical question, but it's not. It's one that we all are faced with, as suffering. How do you make sense of suffering? Why do we suffer so much, and some of us more than others?
Mm-hmm. Suffering is something that I feel that I'm faced with daily, especially within my profession, and just hearing different ways that people suffer. And in my own journey, I've really learned that we can find fulfillment in our suffering. And from my own lens and perspective, I believe the reason why we suffer is because we live in a broken world, and that our world wasn't supposed to be this way in the beginning. For those who are followers of Jesus, we believe that, creation started with this perfect universe, and that God wanted it to be that way. He'd never wanted us to have suffering. And then when sin entered into the world, that's when suffering really became a part of our journey. And so all of us have had to learn how to make meaning out of suffering and how to endure it and cope with it. And I would say being in a season of waiting and longing so badly to be a mother and having to find fulfillment in that suffering has been one of the greatest gifts of this journey. Yeah. And it gives me hope that, okay, when I endure suffering or encounter suffering in the future, because I will, I will be able to get through it, and I will be able to make meaning out of it and find fulfillment in whatever it is God is trying to do in that season for me.
Wow. Yes, that's a beautiful message. I was born a Catholic, really, and but then for some reason, suffering and pain kind of took me into the investigation, exploration of spirituality in different ways. And now I found recently, well, not recently, but 15 years ago, Vedanta, which is a Hindu philosophy, spiritual philosophy. So yeah, it's very similar, the understanding that we have ignored the presence of God, and that's why we suffer. So in a way, by not acknowledging, honoring God, that's here, always present, we suffer. That suffering is the price we pay for it. So it makes sense to you when you say that. It makes sense to me. Another thing that came to mind that I just now to ask you is this concept of fulfillment. What does it feel like for you to be fulfilled in this very moment?
That's a great question. Fulfillment to me in this very moment means having a sense of peace. And that's my continued prayer in our journey. So we are still not pregnant, and we have entered into the process to adopt. And we specifically feel called to adopt siblings out of foster care. And the number one prayer I've had is, God, I don't care what you call me to. I'm open-handed to whatever it is that you have for my life, but I just need to feel your peace. And that's what that fulfillment comes in, is that just the peace, knowing that I'm on the right track, even if it's something that I never imagined my life would be.
Yes, I love that. Again, what's not to love about that? Being at peace, right? No matter what happens. Devon, that really, the message to me is trust, isn't it? Because now you know, like I know, that God's here regardless. So it's something that we don't have to wait to be with God. We are always with God, which is the ultimate goal of life anyway. I know, and I apologize for saying that. I know I'm not a mother, and I never really wanted to be. I know you wanted to be a mother, always wanted. So, with, like so many other women. But for some reason, throughout my life, it was just so clear that there was the purpose of being here, whatever we call life, this human experience. It was to find that presence of God, and to be close to it. There was nothing else really to this journey, but to get to that point. So It's just that I would love to say that. And I'm saying it already, actually. It seems like you already found it. And of course, other joys will come, right, from that sense of peace and reunion with God, which I feel like we never left that place ever. God never left us. We left God. That's what it felt to me throughout my journey, right? So I don't know. For you, when I'm reading your story, listening to you, being in your presence now, although I cannot see your face, I just, I wish, I use that word wish, but it's more than a wish. It's almost like a vision that you find the unconditional love for not just for life itself, for your own experience in it, but also for God in a way, to love God unconditionally. If we have, if God gives things to us or not, is the same. The love never changes. And that will grant us that peace that you speak of. It has been my experience. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I had to say that.
Yes, that makes complete sense because God is love. And when we are loving him and we are seeking him with all of our heart, mind, and soul, then we will experience that peace.
Yes, right. That's and you probably heard about fear and love, right? That they cannot coexist really. So we need to lose all fears, which is scary in itself. Even the fear of losing our own bodies and losing people and all those things. I mean, losing people first and then losing our own bodies. So all that needs to be, we needed to transform that into love or return to love in order to see life differently. I just love your path, though. It feels to me is the love God path. It's beautiful. So in the end, I think that was the end of your story. You said something beautiful. I have it here. It's titled An Invitation. You say, God had and still has greater plans for me in my waiting. I know my wait was not, and it's not for nothing, and that he was preparing me to move into fertility treatments and beginning the process for adoption with a heart completely surrendered to him. I have that in capital letters here. So what else to say? And then I want to go through the content of your book. So, and then you have the lessons, 10 lessons that you have learned in the season of Obscurity. Talk to me about these lessons. Perhaps we can go through one or two, the ones that are the closest to your heart.
So I've used the phrase of season of obscurity in sort of a dual place with a season of waiting. So seasons of obscurities tend to be seasons of our life where we feel like we're wandering aimlessly. We don't really know what's next. We may feel a little lost. And so the lessons that are in my book are what I feel like God has been teaching me as I've at times felt like I was wandering aimlessly. And I think the first lesson is probably the most pivotal to me, which is that fulfillment comes in surrender. And in that lesson, I talk about how when we're able to lean into God for the fulfillment of our season of waiting, we give him the power to show up in unexpected ways. And so that surrender, that open-handedness is saying, okay, God, do what you will with my life, and being okay with that and being able to see the goodness in what God is calling you to in your season.
Yeah. I have the prayer hands here. Yes. Yeah. It just resonates so true, to the heart. The heart opens when listening to you, and then listening to my own voice talk about surrender and God and honoring its presence. It's just that is truth with capital T. So I can't really say differently. So I want to thank you again for honoring that, the presence of God and surrendering to it. Thank you. Because we're all connected. So it's this energetic resonance of that energy, the energetic resonance that in a way it transmits itself to others. So you are transmitting that energy even without knowing, perhaps. So thank you for that too. Especially in the world that we live now, right? I don't watch TV, but I heard about all these things happening.
Yeah.
We do need more love and less fear. And then part 3, part 1 is your story, and then it's my story, and then part 2, lessons learned in the season of obscurity, the season of waiting, and then part 3, women and waiting. This is the stories of other women. Would you like to talk about this section in your book, Devon?
Yes. The third section is really powerful because it goes through 5 different stories of women who have been in seasons of waiting and what God has done throughout that time. And all of them are so different, which makes it really applicable to many different people who are going to be reading this book. But I think my favorite, maybe not so much a favorite, but I think one of the coolest stories is Marie's story, because she waited 10 months to get pregnant. So technically she didn't have that diagnosis of infertility, but when she reflects on that 10-month period in her life and how much fear was consuming her, she wished that she would have done it differently and that she would have pursued what God had for her in that 10 months to prepare her for motherhood. And so her story is almost a reversal of she was able to get pregnant and she wanted to be able to find fulfillment in her waiting versus clinging so hard to the control to try to get pregnant within her own timing.
Yes, that's a powerful one too. Yes, yeah. Yes. So your book, it's so inspiring in so many ways. And then, so your story, of course, and then the lessons. I love the way it's very well done too, well written. It's a beautiful book.
Thank you.
Beautiful work. And then you have part 4, coping while waiting. So these are, amazing tools. So many suggestions, tools. I love the dive deeper into your surrender. That's my favorite, of course. It goes back to that. But do you have a favorite section? Everything. It's so, this is what we need. Women that are waiting need. It might not be my case, but it's for anyone who is listening, who is called to understand more and investigate more. This will be a wonderful gift. So yes, Devon, talking to me about your favorite part in that section.
Oh, I don't really know if I have a favorite because they are all so needed and applicable. Yeah. And I would say the tools in this book are not just for women who are trying to become mothers, but for people who are in any season of waiting or who are dealing with anxiety, who are dealing with grief. All of these tools can be used for those things. So I really can't point out a favorite one. I think one of probably the most important ones is probably the final chapter about how to meet yourself with compassion. Yes. So being able to have self-compassion, which is based off of Kristen Neff's work. And her work is really incredible, where it talks about how can we move out of that shame and judgment of ourselves and have compassion. And so much of the time when women are dealing with delayed fertility, they start judging their bodies and they start judging their choices and their actions and every little piece of what they could be doing that's going to help them get pregnant or going to keep them from getting pregnant. And so being able to enter into this place of, okay, I am okay as I am, and I am loved and valuable is so, so important.
Yes, yes. That's a huge piece. And what comes to mind is the concept of wholeness. That's what God is. So, and once we are in the light of God, then that's how we see ourselves as a whole. We are not broken. We are not pieces in any way. We are whole. The spirit is always whole, and that's what we are part of. From my view, we are that as well. So we are not apart from wholeness. So yes, but being practical, right, Devon? I know that's not easy said than done when it comes to, I'm already whole, perfect, and then there's all the body's doing something else. So that's a hard one for most of us. But yes, that's one of my guiding principles, really, my mantras every moment, every day. It's to know that. Kind of establish myself in that truth that I'm already whole, which has to do with being, it's kind of rest in the arms of God, really, in a way. That's the picture that comes to me. So you have done beautiful work. I know we don't have a lot of time, so I don't want to rush. I'm trying not to rush. I know we don't have 32 minutes. I'm kind of looking at the clock because I know you have another appointment. But I love the dedication in your book, too. That's another part that caught my attention at the very beginning.
Thank you.
Do you have, I won't ask you to read that one, but I love that one, the dedication section. And then I would like to mention your services before we say goodbye. Couples therapy. So within that umbrella, you do marriage therapy, marital therapy, affair recovery, marriage workshops, marriage retreats. You also do individual therapy, EMDR in trauma therapy, adolescent therapy, Christian therapy. And then you have resources, your book, infertility support group, community resources, consultation, and your blog. Did I miss anything, Devan?
No, I think you got it all.
Oh, good. So it's all here. Everything's on your website. So yes. I want to make sure, because I love the name of your website. For some reason, I don't have here at the end of my notes, but I do have it somewhere. So yes, it's, momentsofgraceft.com. So this is your website. The link will be clickable on the podcast notes. I love the name too, Moments of Grace. That paused me in the sense of almost like, again, resting in peace. When I see these concepts, it's a reminder. It's almost like a flavor, perfume of God, really, all these things. So before we say goodbye, would you like to add anything that you left unsaid or read a passage in your book?
I think the only thing I would add is that the last part of my book is really important because it's for people who are trying to love well those who are in seasons of waiting. And so I wrap up my book with an open letter, and it goes through a list of do's and don'ts, and it teaches about how to come alongside someone who is grieving every single month that they're not pregnant, and how to validate them, and just little things that you can do to continue to show up in those relationships. And so I would really encourage anyone who, if you know someone who is in a season of waiting, or you just want to have this as a resource, to please pick up a copy, because that last part of my book is for you. It's for the greater population to be able to help women like me feel loved and supported in our waiting.
That's beautiful. Yes, I read that too. I didn't mention it, but I read it. Yes, so that's the relationship connection part of it, right? Expanding that love to everyone, right? Especially the ones in need. Yes. Thank you so much again for your beautiful presence in our reality, for the work that you have done. And for being so courageous and loving. Thank you so much, Devan. Thank you.
Thank you, Valeria. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. We'll be in touch again. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. To learn more about Devon Larson and her work, please visit momentsofgraceft.com.
To learn more about this podcast, please visit fitforjoy.org/podcast. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.